My father and I spend part of my commute together, sunny walk, drive part. And it was always walk, drive, years nervous, going to prep chair, crafting what he knew. And most of what we talk of raised 19 part is before you go say, look, maybe, or maybe everybody's not going to like anything, doesn't, or another whole different spec. Also, that feeling made, so I should always fact, first person told me that. He didn't phrase it. When I think back, that's what he taught me, and that served. My oldest is going to turn. ADHD is a little bit different thought because what it means is you're executive haired. So when he gets a thought in his head, there's very little logic. There's no personal history of him that I can refer to that might. There's no personal adversity that will dissuade him. He may, once he gets that thought in his head, he may see that it just not work out, but he just can't let go thought. So that's what he's taught. So my father taught me ways stuck is stuck. That's why we come and resolve this issue, because I expect maybe able to see prosecutor is stuck. Homicide. Now I don't suggest he's neurodivergent, but clearly he is stuck. There was a total of 17 witnesses called today, and I'm my father's son. I try to be super efficient. I'm not trying to waste your time. I told you, I didn't want to tell you, it might go till Friday. You're going to have the case today on Thursday. Still may deliberate till Friday. Nobody can determine how long you're going to deliberate. I don't need to be asking questions of witness to be hearing my talk just to be asked questions. That's not even. You heard from 17 witnesses 2 days, and you already know it's only about 3 witnesses. That's the whole case. I don't suggest they did it wrong. They put what they need to put up. That's fine. 3 witnesses. Who's the first witness? Dr. Terry, the second one, Brittany Barrington, the third one, investigator Angela Carter. That's the whole case right there. What did Brittany Barrington, 23? We did the measure. What else? Quote, the distance of the shell casings is not pertinent. It's irrelevant. If you fired a gun, what'd she tell you? If you fired a gun, 1 round may go over there by the door, 1 round may go up into the light. That's what she told you. The placement of distance of the shell casings, the placement of the shell case is not pertinent. Prosecutor in the dictionary because the etymology, maybe. You're bright enough to figure that out. We've been doing a lot of weird things in the last 2 days. Maybe he'll get up and do that. Not pertinent, not relevant. The rounds being there, irrelevant. Now, you already know that. You it's. You didn't even need to tell you that. Because when we have the head and we have the gun, whether you believe Austin fired the gun or Tory fired the gun is the same distance from the head. So where the rounds land, irrelevant. Because the gun is in the exact same, whether Tory shoots her or Austin shoots her, somebody else shoots her. The gun is 10 to 12 inches, and no. The barrel's parallel. I don't care how you do parallel. The barrel's parallel to the head. So you already know. Whoever pulled the trigger, where the rounds land is irrelevant. So I got no clue why the prosecutor trying to dislocate his shoulder yesterday, trying to do something crazy. Like it's the OJ case. Are you for real? Listen, you don't need to dislocate your shoulder. It's the same distance. The gun is in the same. The gun doesn't come over here. The gun doesn't. No, it's everything's exactly the same. The science same. We just need to determine who pulled the trigger. So, got it. You consent. The distance of the shell casings is not pertinent. Then investigator Angela Carter got here. Not today. Yesterday. And yesterday, as I'm listening, I thought I heard her say, you write it down. I thought I heard her say, I got together with some other more experienced, since I've only been there 3 weeks. That's fine. That's not a problem. More experienced, more enlightened. That's fine. I got with some other homicide investigators, and we determined based on where the shell casings were. No. You didn't say that. The shell casings? Back to the shell casings? Let's go with anything but the location of the shell casings. Based on where the shell casings were, the shell casings have nothing to do with nothing. She built a theory by herself or with the other investigators that based on where the shell casings were, it had to be a homicide. What? It had to be. See, because watch this. If it could be a homicide, that's a not guilty. Because the judge is going to tell you after the prosecutor speaks, you got to find my client guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. All these other plausible possibilities had to be. Not could be. Could be is not beyond a reasonable doubt, ladies. Had to be. So, investigator Angela Carter said that yesterday, and I was like, well, we're going to have to explore that. And I was like, Judge was like, no, we're going to end for the day. I wanted to get at that last night. Today, she sort of backed off that. She didn't really get the shell casings theory prove homicide, because you already know the shell casings cannot tell you anything about homicide or suicide. Can't tell you anything about homicide or suicide. So we get to Dr. Terry, and I love Dr. You love Dr. Terry because she's a doctor. No, I love anybody 70 hours because I understand people that work 70 hours. I understand that means that you probably take 3 meals on the road. I understand that means a 14-hour day, 5 days a week, or a 12, 13-hour day, 6 days a week. I understand that means that you have super efficient on the weekend to get all that dry cleaning and food, because by the time you work 8 to 10, everything is closed. If you need to get your hair cut, or you need your car service, or you need to get your teeth cleaned, you got to fit that in. I love folks that work 65, 70 hours a week. Let me tell you something else about people that work 65, 70 hours. They got a low tolerance. They got low patience. So when the prosecutor gets her, she's acting like this because she's a doctor. No, she's acting like this because she stands alone when she works 70-hour weeks. Are you working 70-hour weeks? She's not going to have any problem with you. But when you work a 45-hour week and you keep asking her the same questions over and over and over and over, she's looking at you. Are you insane? 45-hour week people don't question 70-hour week people. That's how it should be. That's not how it is, but that's how it should be. That's what that's about. That's not about her being a doctor. That's not about 6,000 autopsies. That's about stop asking me the same questions over and over and over. Got no problem with you going to the lake house early on Friday. Got no problem with you going to Martini Mondays. Stop asking me the same question over and over and over and over when I'm here devoted to this and you just showing up for your job. Can't wait till 5 o'clock comes. It's because she's a doctor. No, it's because she is a premier medical examiner. Takes extreme pride in, even on the week. What she do this last weekend? Even on the weekends when she tells you she isn't working, she's working. Even on the weekends when she tells you she's not working. I just went to the office to print something else. 4 hours later. I know that when you're married, your wife tells you, don't call me until you're in the car. Because when you call me from the office and say you're leaving in 10 minutes, you're still there 3 hours later. I love people that work 65, 70, 75 hours. Absolutely love it. What's Dr. Terry's job? Dr. Terry's job is science. She's speaking science. Facts over feelings. That's what she's talking. Facts, not feelings. What's the cause of death? Gunshot. What's the manner of death? Undetermined. What'd she tell you in the email to NARS? But for the manipulation of the scene, this in my suicide. But for the manipulation of the scene. But for the gun being removed from the scene. But for this blood trace being on her leg, which you now know is her blood and nobody else's blood. But for the manipulation of the scene, I would science. I'm just talking for science because I got a brain and vocal cords. Science doesn't have a brain and vocal cords. I'm speaking for science. Science tells us this is a suicide. He said, I need a volunteer. Well, who's going to be? I got to get on the ground. That's what it is, what it is. 70 hours a week. Don't ask other people to do what you're not willing to do. That's how that works. She gets down, and what she demonstrate to us? Well, if it's a homicide and her hands are up like this, then the person has to get down, and because the barrel has to be, won't work, won't barrel. The gun can move any kind of way, but that barrel has to be parallel with the ground for the round to enter the head and go the direction that it did. Slightly up, slightly down. So the person either has here, or they got lay, and when they lay down, they got to shoot over the arm to hit the person in the head. It doesn't matter how fantastic it is, the prosecutor going to stay stuck on what he's stuck on. And then he give you all these other theories. The picnic theory, the midnight picnic theory. That's what we got right before the end. Midnight theory. We went out there for a picnic with no blanket just to look at the stars, and I got surprise shot. Pow! The picnic theory. 1,000,001 theories. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to say, oh, it might be a suicide. Don't say that. Stay stuck on anything that doesn't sound like that. And so I don't really need to talk for a long while because Dr. Terry, she's not sure. Told you the original 5 facts. Tory is dead, and there's no client. Those aren't doctor be able to promise in order for you to afford guilt murder because it doesn't matter how little effort. This was prosecutor question in voir dire. Well, what would you do? What would you do if somebody told you that they were suicidal? Oh, I would jump off the Empire State Building to save them. I don't know what he expects you to tell him. Some people you're not going to be able to save. I'm going to talk to you, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to save you. Same as a marriage. What you going to do if your wife tells you she's going to divorce you? I'm going to tell her you're an accountant, take 60%, have a nice day. What I'm going to do? What I'm going to tell her? Well, let's go. People are going to make decisions that they're going to make. And the idea that Austin Ford found guilty of murder, he didn't do enough, is almost as ridiculous as Austin Ford being found guilty of murder because he lied to the police. Charge him with lying to the police. That's fine. But please don't come up here and say, because Austin Ford lied to the police, you should find him guilty of murder. We're not here on a shoplifting case. We're not here on entering auto. We're here on the most serious thing a person charged with, murder. And then we get into the letter and we get into question what's going on. And you can see Tory Lane got a little bit of a chaotic life. It's a little bit of chaos. No, I understand none of the family's going to say that it's chaotic. Now, I got that. But it's a little bit of chaos. A little bit unstable financially. Boyfriend sort of doing things. He's sort of a boyfriend. He's sort of not a boyfriend. I'm on these diet pills. I faint. I may or may not be taking drugs from Scoop. A little bit of a chaotic life. Mom's saying, listen, you can't stay here. You're not following rules. Grandma, auntie putting you out. They love you. They love you. And they really loving you now. They really love you. But it's a little bit of chaos. It's a little bit of chaos. And here's the beauty when you come in this building. This is what I love about the building. If you're going to have a trial where we search truth, because that's what about search truth, you got to tell, can't tell a half and then say, hey, you can write on any document that you have, but you never guilty on verdict. Do murder. After the prosecutor speaks to you, the judge is going to read the law to you. And, normally I talk to juries about doubt. What's reasonable doubt? Doubt, fair mind, partial doubt based upon common sense and reason. It's not a vague or arbitrary doubt, but doubt for which a reason can give it. Dr. Terry, tell it. Based on the conflict in the evidence, gaps in the evidence, the judges will tell you the law about doubt. But the most interesting thing as I'm reading jury charges last is the number of times I see the words facts and evidence in the charge the judge reads after process. The judge is going to read this to you, and you're going to hear the judge repeat certain words throughout the charge of court. Facts and evidence, evidence and facts and evidence. You're going to hear those two words over and over and over and over when the judge reads the charge to. That's because the criminal justice system rests upon facts and evidence, not speculation, not feeling, fact and evidence. So if in fact the thing that's there was a gun, and if this and if that, that's not really how this thing. Fact and evidence. Towards the end of the jury charge, the judge will specifically tell you the law on the role that feelings are supposed to play. She's going to read it to you. She's going to tell you that you, the jury, are not to show favor or sympathy to one party or the other. It is your duty to consider the facts objectively. That's what she's going to tell you. It is your duty to consider the facts objectively without favor, affection, or sympathy to either party. In deciding the case, you should not be influenced by sympathy or prejudice. Feelings do not play a role here. They're not supposed to. Doesn't mean we don't understand the Lang law family, but in making these decisions, we're supposed to be looking at facts. At the very beginning of the charge that you're going to hear from the judge is going to tell you it is your responsibility, the jury, to determine the facts of the case from all of the evidence presented. You're not going to hear anything about speculation. You're not going to hear anything about hypotheticals. You're not going to hear anything about musings of the state prosecutor and committees of homicide investigators. You're not going to hear that. The judge is going to tell you your oath requires that you decide this case based on the evidence. And then she's going to tell you evidence is the means by which any fact that is put in issue is established or disproved. Evidence, facts, evidence, facts. There's no, how do you bridge that? You bridge that with your feelings. Feelings play no role in this. We want you to use your common sense when you analyze the facts and you put the logic of the law to those facts. The law does not recognize feeling. And when you look at evidence and the facts and you facts the law, question is, has the state met their burden of proving my client's guilt beyond a doubt? I contend no, obvious. Bare suspicion, the judge is going to tell you, is not enough. And the judge is going to give you an instruction on experts. And did I consent to all their experts? There's only really one expert here. Who's that? You already know. It's Dr. Terry. Dr. Terry's the expert. The judge is going to tell you expert witnesses are those because of their training training and experience, possess knowledge in a particular field that is not common knowledge. There's an or after that, but I like that part. Because of their training and experience, 70 hours a week, they possess knowledge in a particular field that is not common knowledge. Even to all of the investigators who might work in that field, it's not common knowledge. What she knows is not common knowledge. It doesn't matter that I try 8 homicides this year. I'm not going to have common knowledge. I'm always going to learn something when I talk to Dr. Terry. So what'd she tell you we talk about in the hall? What'd she tell you we talk about? Her vacation. Why? Because I'm normally tired when I see her. I'm on my way to something else, and I'm not asking her about some other case. So we're going to talk about how was your vacation? When are you taking yours? Soon. It might be next never. Listen, we're going to talk about not work. Why? Because her knowledge is not common. And if she's talking, I'm in student mode. Oh, I've been a prosecutor. Doesn't matter how long you've been a prosecutor. Doesn't matter. She's light years away ahead of where you are. How did she get light years? 35 years, 70 hours a week. She's light years away. Do not believe because you know her name and you can call her up that your knowledge is the same. It is not. It is not. So, do you believe Dr. Terry? Dr. Terry can't tell. She prepares a report. She's thinking about it. She's talking to the investigator. She's going back to the report. She's looking at the scene. She's looking at the scene. She's not just coming to a decision willy-nilly. She's struggling with it. Is there a way for me to definitively say suicide or homicide? Suicide or homicide? Can I definitively make that choice? And in the end, she says she cannot. Are you leaning one way or the other? Yes, clear an email. I am leaning towards suicide, but because I cannot rule out homicide. That means it's a homicide. Stuck. Not going to fix that. Not going to fix that. The judge is going to tell you ultimately you must believe and determine the credibility of the witness. You, jury, determine the credibility. You can believe 100 of what a person says. 5%. I contend there's only 3 witnesses to deal with. But you can believe all of Dr. Terry. You can believe none of Dr. Terry. You can do it. Fortunately for me, I'm in Gwinnett. I'm not in Philadelphia where juries just do wacko things, cuckoo bird things. I suspect you're going to look at the evidence, and I suspect that you're going to respect Dr. Terry's credentials and her experience, and you're going to, as you see, part of your determination of her credibility is you determine person. Does she seem like a credible person, irrespective of what she's for? Did she appear to try to do everything she could to reach definitive? Is she just stuck on suicide and making this thing into suicide? No. She's looking at prosecutor asks her a question. There's certain points she has to concede. The science has to concede, but the science doesn't have to ultimately what the prosecutor wants the science to concede. In determining the credibility of the witnesses, the judge is going to tell you that there are certain things that you may consider. One of the things that you can consider is the witnesses' means and opportunity of knowing the facts about which they testify. Knowing the facts about which they testify. Detective Carter know anything this is not, forget the fact that does she know anything about it? So how are you challenging Terry on that? You could talk to Terry about the best salad dressings, not this. But you, the jury, get to determine. You can consider the witness's means and opportunity of knowing the facts about which they. Can Detective Carter tell you anything about homicide versus based on the science? You may consider the nature and the facts about which they testify. Same science. You may consider the probability or improbability of their testimony. And I'm okay with Detective Carter adopting the prosecutor's version stuff. I'm okay with that. And he can get up here and he dislocate his shoulder and tell you the way it had to. You already know that's not true because the bullet didn't go to the back of the head to the front. It had to be at the side. But he can get up here and he can twist the gun in the most difficult way. He thinks it's diving. Like, I get more points if the dive is more difficult. No, that's not really what's going on. But he can do it. You heard from Dr. Terry. You also get determined when you're looking at credibility, the interest or lack of interest in the outcome of the case. I don't know if he's going bold enough to say Detective Carter doesn't have any interest in the case when she telling the family. Remember I asked the question, we know you. Why would you lie? All he did was tell a lie. Oh, I clearly knew she wasn't suicidal. Why would you tell the family? Your job as a detective is not to side with family. You're trying to bring closure to the family, but your job is not to side with them. Dr. Terry's trying to bring closure to the whole case, but she's not siding with the family. So it becomes clear as you listen to Detective Carter's testimony that she's siding. Why? Evidence takes us where the evidence, the fact take us where the facts take us. Don't worry about feeling. It's fact. And ladies and gentlemen, when you fact presented it, specifically the facts evident from 3 crucial witnesses, it crystal clear verdict, not guilty, felon, aggravated assault, no gun is covered, no gun is ever seen, client DNA is. What about the gun that he had? Well, we know that's the gun he was with arrest Clayton, bouncing resident. When he tells detective, gun, look, on the night that Tory died, he was looking up guns. Sure, because you have a gun to protect his family. That's perfectly understandable. Can't possess a gun because he's under the age of 1, as the detective told us, but that's perfectly understandable. Why would you take that fact that he's looking up guns and said that means he wants to kill stuck? I'm going to ask you to find my client not guilty of all the charges. Thank you.